far back as I can remember, cars is what always got me excited, or even more maybe specific is mechanics. It's the idea of men working with machine, and especially with cars, it's man, machine, and Mother Nature racing around a mountainside or touring across the country with no top on when it starts to rain. It's the romance of it which got me into cars. It's the visceral feel of an automobile. It's the smell of octane gas burning. It's the smell of old vintage leather.
I love machinery, and I think that there's a certain beauty to an automobile. So it's the crossroads of beauty and machinery that we see in an automobile. And I've had that passion since I was a little kid.
At the age of 13, my older brother, Hunter, had a Porsche Super 90 that a friend of my father's gave him, and an MGA that was bought for my sister, and a Bug-Eye Sprite. And he was fiddling with these cars at a young age, and being the younger brother, I always had to sort of do the dirty work and grunt work, and it sort of stuck with me. As I became older, around 16, I lusted after a Jag E-Type, and by the time I was 17, I ended up buying one. I just sort of always had a love and passion for British sports cars.
My name is Jason Wennick. I'm owner of Creative Workshop here in Dania Beach, Florida. Creative Workshop is a restoration and coach building firm where we bring back to life cars from antiquity, and in some instances build custom cars for clients pretty much from around the globe.
My name is Hayes Harris, and I have a company called Wire Wheel Classic Sports Cars, or wirewheel.com. It's a company that my wife and I started about 25 years ago. It was born out of our passion for British sports and race cars. And that's what we do mainly, is we buy and sell mainly British, iconic British cars like Austin Healey's, MGs, Triumphs, Jaguar, and a few unusual cars like Lotuses and TVRs and Marcos and a lot of brands that people have never heard of before.
My name is Brian Stiles. I am a die-hard car enthusiast. I have been since my childhood. At this point, today in my life, I'm kind of chasing after my passions of collecting some of the rarest American-made muscle on the planet.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things I could do with a life. Cars is very special to me. I think it touches on a lot of disciplines, which gets me excited every single morning. Art, history, archaeology, and its incredible impact it had not only on America, but on pretty much society. You know, transportation and design and art. It really touches on a lot of disciplines for me, and that's what gets me excited. So,
history on these cars, I think that every one of these cars has an interesting history. It's just about how much archaeology, how much research we've done on each one of them to find out the stories. There's nothing better than sharing stories of cars with people that are willing to listen to me ramble on for hours. No doubt some of these cars we've learned more history about them than others. So the more history we know, the longer the story is. Sometimes the more interesting the story is. I think of all the cars in the collection, the one that stands out with the most interesting past would be the car that's behind me right now, the 1967 Shelby convertible GT500. I did say the, because it is the only one that was ever made. Every other car in here, when we talk about the rare convertibles that we chase after, you get into numbers of 300 or less, one of 34, one of 29, one of 17, one of 8, right? I mean, they're the anomaly. It was someone's decision that day that they wanted the big engine in a car with a top that goes down, which just wasn't done all that often. But the story of the Shelby is a long one. I think it could be an episode on its own. It was a car that Shelby planned to offer to the public in '67, 2 years after creating the Mustang-based Shelby GT350 fastback. But unfortunately, due to a number of events that unfolded, as I like to say, the planets lined up a certain way in the solar system, and because of that, only one got built. And so that is kind of the cornerstone, I think, of our collection, and certainly of any automotive collection, in the world. It's the rarest production automobile ever built.
I'd like to think that all of our cars have interesting histories. That's one of the things we do when we buy cars, is we buy cars that we like, and cars that we're proud to own, and cars that hopefully have some interesting histories or some kind of positive attributes about them. The car to my right is a Panoz GT2, a Le Mans car. This car was actually one of a 3-car team out of England, which is L&T, and its sister car won the GT class in Le Mans in 2006. Painted the same paint scheme. It won, beating all the best that Ferrari had, Porsche had, Corvette, and everybody else in 2006, which is quite an achievement for a small US manufacturer. This particular car raced at Sebring several times, and although this one never raced at Le Mans, it was second in the 2006 GT series in the UK.
A lot of the cars we work on, obviously, when you're working at the level that we work on, most of the cars we work with tend to be very valuable, which translates into famous in some way, shape, or form. It's hard to pinpoint any one particular story which stands out amongst the rest, but at any given moment, including at this very moment in the shop, there are cars here with history that could raise the hair on the back of your neck. In the back of the shop, there's a 1931 Chenard Walker, which is one of the 8 Le Mans car, which in essence started the Le Mans racing circuit. The Stangalini, which I mentioned, that went to Pebble Beach, was owned by Briggs Cunningham. He blew the engine up and then sold it to Carl Kiekhaefer, who was the founder of Mercury Outboard Motor. Carl took the Stangalini motor out, put a Mercury outboard motor in it, and started an entire trend in H-modified 2-stroke racing cars. With that Mercury outboard motor, he broke the land speed record. The motor that he broke the land speed record in that came out of the Stangalini is sitting right behind me. So that is a land speed record breaking Carl Kiekhaefer original Mercury outboard motor that was in a Stangalini owned by Briggs Cunningham, which broke, so you could see how the stories grow immediately.
So some of the more special cars that we have here at the collection today would obviously be the Shelby convertible behind me. And next to that, we have a 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle convertible with the L78 375 horsepower, 396 cubic inch engine with the L89 aluminum head option, mated to a 4-speed. This is that anomaly. It is the absolute biggest engine you could get in the 69 Chevelle convertible with the fun 4-speed behind it. Chasing down the history on that car, we know that it was sold by a performance Chevy dealership out of Newark, Delaware, by the name of Porter Chevrolet. And this car was the dealer's son's demonstrator. Good to be the son. Anyway, he had a lot of fun with the car, about 6 months to a year, and then of course it was sold off on their lot. We've also conducted interviews with the first owner of that car, a gentleman by the name of Harold Moss, who's told us all a whole lot of great stories about why he bought the car and how much fun he had in it over the years. So by the numbers today, we know of 2 of these cars with the L89 aluminum head option and a 4-speed gearbox that have been found and restored. There might be more. The barn stories are always good, but we haven't found them yet.
The one to my left is a Lotus Evora GT4 race car. This car was raced in the UK with another car, sister car, which we also have. It was part of the factory Lotus team, and it won some races in Europe. It was campaigned in 2011. And the other neat point about it is that Scalextric, who makes some great slot car tracks, made a slot car setup with this car and its sister cars, same 2 cars, as a kit. And we have that slot car track that goes with the car if we sell the car. And Corgi also made models of these specific cars because they were both painted in the iconic Lotus colors. This one's in the JPS colors for John Player Cigarettes, who was a major sponsor for their Formula One teams, probably one of the most iconic Formula One teams of the 70s. And the other car is painted in the gold leaf tobacco colors, which was one of the sponsors for Lotus in the late 60s.
Knock on wood, we have a full shop of great projects, and if you guys go back there and take a walk around, I think you'll see some pretty impressive stuff. A couple of cars of note, I mentioned we have a 1931 Chenard Walker, which there's only 8 in the world, affectionately nicknamed Le Tank, because it's kind of a bulldoggy kind of looking vehicle. It's upside down right now, might not be able to be that noticeable. In the back corner on the upstairs level is something called a Bosley Interstate Mark II, which is a remarkable story. It's a one-off prototype built by a guy who built another one-off prototype, which actually made it to Pebble Beach, 2010. This car was lost for about 40 years. I've tracked down the entire family. I've spoken to the entire family. Again, we're talking about history and style. Downstairs in the metal shop, there's a 1914 REO Speedwagon, which we are custom designing and building for a client, just like they did back in the pre-war days. You would order a chassis from one of the builders. It would have nothing except a firewall and an engine, and you would bring it to your coach builder, like you would bring a bespoke suit, and they would then design and build the car to your specification. It's exactly how we're doing it right now, building it pretty much the way they did it. The list goes on, but there are some pretty impressive projects, to the point where even I walk in sometimes and I get goosebumps like, this is fun. And what are we going to accomplish today? So there's some great stuff you guys will see back there.
We have a couple Mopars. We have a 1970 Cuda convertible, painted vitamin C with a white leather interior. It has the second biggest engine option that you could get. Everyone knows that the Hemi was top of the pecking order, but just beneath that and a whole lot more streetable would be a 440 with a 6-pack carburation setup. On this car we also have desirable options, including the Shaker fresh air package, and 96 as it was coded, turn signal indicators, rally dashboard, and a luggage rack. The vitamin C with a white leather interior is a very desirable look, and the second biggest engine makes it extremely rare. I believe 29 of them were built with that engine option.
I mean, I'm sitting right next to a 1927 Citroën. You know, it's hard to imagine this car sitting here in a dilapidated state waiting for her turn. It's my car, actually. If you were in France in 1923, this is the type of car that like a Paris Hilton would be driving. This was the car. This was the hippest car you could possibly be in France in the 20s. So you just look around and you get flooded with the incredible history and stories that come with these cars.
The Green Juno was a championship-winning car from 2005 in the UK. It was built as an endurance race car. It's very unique in that it has a tube chassis, lightweight fiberglass body, and it has a Ford or Jaguar-based 3-liter V6 engine with a Hewland sequential gearbox. It's a very awarding car to drive. Those types of cars are actually very easy to drive because they do everything that you want them to do. They handle so well, they brake so well, they have incredible acceleration, and they do what you ask it to do. So it becomes a very rewarding car to drive. It makes a mediocre driver feel like a fast driver, and a fast driver extremely fast.
Every car in this collection has a story, and what I enjoy most is figuring out what those stories are. Chasing the stories and finding out what motivated someone to walk into a dealership, you know, and buy a 70 Cuda convertible with, you know, a 446 pack Shaker, you know, hood scoop, painted vitamin C orange with a white leather interior. What was that motivation? What were they thinking that day? What was going on in their life at that time? To me, that's the fun of this hobby, is chasing down these stories and talking to the people that were responsible for us, you know, allowing us to have these great creations today. And
certainly with the televised auctions, the excitement, the energy, the liquidity, the money, the glamour has gone through the roof. Some of it's very good, obviously. To have a track record of liquidity, it substantiates the investment in, and certainly trickles right back directly to us when people look at a car they would have never looked at before and feel confident in putting the money into it to restore. In some respects, it's not that good. And that is the reason why it became such an important thing to all of us, is the love affair with the automobile. It's the father and son, and it's the get in a car and drive across the country. It's the breaking down on the side of a road and figuring out how to get through it. It's history. It's evolution of design and mechanics and whatnot. And unfortunately, as these cars tend to becoming more and more investment chips, I think some of that's being lost. And in some way, I think a lot of the big car shows are fighting back with things like the driving tours before the events and rewarding cars that are obviously driven and used. But certainly I get a little pang of upset when you go to some of these auctions or big auctions and there's 1,100 cars in the parking lot. It feels a little bit like cattle being brought to the slaughter in a way. Obviously there's a good note, and that's maybe going to a better home, but it's just something about that repetitive nature of here it comes, here it goes, here it comes, here it goes, which to me washes away the Saturday morning waking up and putting your boy in the car and going for a drive on the highway. So as all things, I'm sure it'll equalize. I'm sure it'll work its way out, but it's just something that I think we could all think about as we appreciate the hobby. Let's not lose the anchor which got us here.